Blueberry banana nut muffin on a Sunday morning. Breaking Star Wars news. The crazy rumors were true. The Mandalorian Season 4 is going to be a movie. This is confirmed as it comes from LucasFilm themselves. And on top of them talking about that, they also confirmed that Ahsoka Season 2 is officially in production. So in this video, we're going to break down all of this news, but I also want to explain what's really going on here, because this confirms the other rumors. And if you look back to those rumors, there's a lot of clues as to what Lucasfilm is really thinking about here and why they have decided to make The Mandalorian Season 4 a movie, but also do an Ahsoka Season 2. This all has to do with the Filoni-verse or the MandoVerse and how they want to pay that off in Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie. And let me tell you, man, this is actually pretty freaking cool. Let me break it down. Okay, so this was tweeted out from the official Lucasfilm Star Wars account, the Mandalorian account. It's an article on StarWars.com, and it says here, The Mandalorian and Grogu journeys to the big screen. The Mandalorian and Grogu are embarking on a new adventure to movie theaters. Directed by Jon Favreau, which is freaking awesome, by the way, and produced by Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni. The Mandalorian and Grogu will go into production in 2024. I have loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created, said Favreau. The prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered into Star Wars a new and beloved characters. This new story is a perfect fit for the big screen, added Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. The Mandalorian and Grogu will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate, including films helmed by Charmin Obed-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni, who are also currently developing Ahsoka Season 2 among those in the works. This is the way. And I gotta say, I agree. I think this is the way, and there's actually a lot of interesting stuff in this article, and again, with regards to the rumors. But first, let's just kind of absorb this news. Couple of interesting things here. It says here, The Mandalorian and Grogu will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate. And they mentioned the Charmin Obed-Chinoy movie, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni. This is really interesting. What that means is that all three of the movies that were announced at Star Wars Celebration will come after this movie, okay? This is really interesting. Now, the reports for the past couple of years have been that Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, they're aware that they really need to get a movie into the theaters, okay? They took an initial break after the sequel trilogy, and that was done because Kathleen Kennedy told Bob Iger she needed some time to kind of evaluate the brand, to plan things out for the future. And this was reportedly because she was aware, and a lot of people over there were aware, that Star Wars was having trouble, that the sequel trilogies didn't perform exactly the way they wanted to. And I know those movies made a lot of money, but they trended down, and there was a lot of criticism. And I think like good criticism, like not even the toxic shit, like just a lot of people didn't love the sequel trilogy. Merchandising sales are down, like a lot of things happened to Star Wars, and I think Kathy was actually aware of it. We dog on Kathy a lot, and trust me, I don't think she should still be the president, but the reports were, even she was aware sequel trilogy didn't go the way it should have. They need to make changes. That was why they initially took that break. However, since that break, it's just been project after project falling apart. I mean, we were supposed to get a series of movies made by Dan and Dave from the Game of Thrones thing. We were supposed to get a Patty Jenkins movie. Even the Rey movie was originally going to be a Damon Lindelof movie, which probably would have come out faster because they fired Lindelof and rewrote the thing with Steve Knight. The point is, what I'm trying to say here is that they've been aware they really need a movie in theaters. They haven't been able to do that. Stuff just keeps falling apart. And even these other movies, like the Charmin Obed-Chinoy movie, is going through its own series of issues, okay? They're rewriting the script. I believe they're on their third or fourth draft at this moment. But the fact that this Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to lead the slate indicates that Lucasfilm is going to shift their efforts into making this the next Star Wars movie you see in theaters. And that just feels like a W for me, okay? Look, I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can about the Rey movie, movie, but it just feels to me like a really bad idea. I don't think Charmin is qualified to be that director, and I think the past documentary work that she did, which, you know, in all seriousness is important work. Like, that's good work. I don't want to crap on that in any way, shape, or form, but that just doesn't qualify her to be a Star Wars director. That movie just seems like so many question marks. A character people find divisive, an activist that's now going to attempt to direct, and there's all sort of questions about how overt or covert the political messaging will be in the Rey movie. And, you know, I don't know if you noticed, that seems to be a really big deal for a lot of people, so it's just a lot of question marks for the Rey movie. So I think going with The Mandalorian is the move, and there were recently some interesting things that came out about last year. Like, The Mandalorian was still the most viewed streaming show of 2023, and even though that third season was a real letdown and really weird, it was still the highest viewed streaming show. And I think that brand, The Mandalorian, and that character of Din Djarin and that character of Grogu, probably the most popular, universally loved things in Star Wars right now. So it makes sense to go with the sure bet of Mandalorian and Grogu over the, you know, less sure bet with the Rey movie, Charmin, Obed Chinoy, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, I also want to talk to you about Ahsoka Season 2 and why this is such a big deal and why it indicates that The Mandalorian Season 3 was likely just a filler season, because we know there was a big plan for the MandoVerse that was already kind of established. This was reported all the way back in 2019 when Lucasfilm announced all of those other shows like Rangers of the New Republic, Ahsoka, the Boba Fett show, and the whole idea was they were leading towards something, right? But then some things happen. Obviously, the Gina Carano thing. They don't do Rangers of the New Republic. Reported drama with Pedro Pascal, so I think they kind of halt things with Mando. There are reports that Kathleen Kennedy intervened to get Grogu back with the Mandalorian for season 3, but there was no real plan as to how that was actually going to take place within the story. But it was reported over a year ago, initially by Grace Randolph, that both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were heading over to the film side of things. And this kind of lined up with some rumors that indicated that what Lucasfilm wanted to do was do a bunch of shows on Disney Plus within this MandoVerse and pay that off in a movie. And at the time, we thought Dave and Jon will both probably do the movie. But now it seems like Dave's getting a movie and Jon is getting a movie. Now, there was something said by Jason Ward that really stuck with me, considering all the other rumors and the things that we've been hearing. And this was something he said during Ahsoka Season 1. He had reported that they were thinking about making the next season of Ahsoka just Dave's movie, but that the creative people at Lucasfilm had more story to tell and didn't want to jump right into the movie. And Jason did report that this idea of doing The Mandalorian Season 4 as a film was a real idea. Like, it was on the table. Now, he reported that they were not going to do it, but he did admit that it was something they were thinking about. So what all of that means to me is they had this idea for the MandoVerse and they wanted it to end in a movie. I think that's Dave Filoni's movie. That's like the heir to the empire, like big Thrawn type movie. And I think Jon and Dave both wanted to continue doing shows to really fill out the story to eventually get to Dave's movie. But I think Lucasfilm, as we were talking about earlier in the video, they're like desperate to get a movie into the theaters. So they were probably putting pressure on Jon and Dave to get a movie into theaters as quickly as possible. And that was why they greenlit Dave's film. That's why they announced that at Star Wars Celebration. But the truth is they were still trying to figure out how exactly to get there when that movie would release. And they were considering either making Mando Season 4 the movie. And so basically, I think there were a lot of discussions about potentially taking Mando Season 4 and making that into a film, or just taking beats from Ahsoka Season 2 and putting that right into Filoni's movie. Because if they really want to get to a movie quickly, they can't do Ahsoka Season 2 and The Mandalorian Season 4. Those are huge productions. They would also take like a year or 2 years to like release and come out, and then have John and Dave go to work on a movie. And this feels like the solution. It feels like they've finally decided what they want to do. They're going to make Ahsoka Season 2, and they're going to make The Mandalorian Season 4 into a movie. That way Dave gets to build that story with Ahsoka, and whatever he's doing on Peridia, I still think it will heavily involve Abeloth, but that's for another video down the line. But Dave will get to do Ahsoka Season 2, continue to work on how he wants to do his movie, continue to work on his chops as an actual director in live action. And the more seasoned of the two, Jon Favreau, will now go create The Mandalorian Season 4 as a film, being the next movie that comes out for Star Wars, and it will likely set up beats that will be paid off in Dave Filoni's movie, which again will probably be an Heir to the Empire, Thrawn kind of a thing. And that's a little bit of speculation, but it's also based on very good reports from very reliable people and stuff that I've heard behind the scenes. Basically, they had a plan. Some things happened. The plan got shaken up. They kind of did a filler season of The Mandalorian Season 3 as they worked out where the new plan was going to take them. And now they've refined the plan even further, and you're going to get a movie directed by Jon Favreau, a Mandalorian movie on the big screen as your next Star Wars movie, Season 2 of Ahsoka, and then likely a Filoni movie after that with Thrawn. That actually sounds really freaking cool. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.